We're live. Oh, my fan's on. Okay, fan is off. Stream is on. Okay, let me just check that my audio is all good. Please let me know in the comments if the audio is all good. Can you hear this? Should be fine. Spirido, thank you very much for the donation, my pal. I love that. Let's see if we can get some more. Hope everyone's doing well. It's hot here. It is. Berlin is not famous for having the best weather, but summer is good. But that said, sitting in a small room that is completely surrounded with insulation is not ideal when it's like 34 degrees outside. So it's yeah, I mean, as you can see by the attire, it's very hot in here. So if I'm profusely sweating, hopefully it's because of the tunes, but probably it's because it's like a sauna in my studio. Anyway, that said, we are good to go. Unfortunately, there are a few people who didn't have their download links enabled and that type of thing. So we've got 19 tracks at the moment, and there's potential for a couple more. So links at the top of the chat or in the description if you want to send in a track, and let's see how we do. But without further ado, let's get it going. We've got Fall by Dat Noise. Adria, what's up, my man? I think you probably could have bought the hats back there. Yeah, I think like you should have bought the hats back sooner, because you've kind of got this cool section without them, but then you go into like a 15-second section before then like the long breakdown. So I'm just kind of thinking on the dance floor, that's going to be, it's kind of like you want some time to just kind of dance, you know, like, so I think switching this around, having the hats for at least 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds. So probably bring back the hats, yeah, after like however long that is, when you bring the clap in. Again, like I think, you know, hats back in. I think you can maybe do with a ride. I think that would help to pick things up, because it's quite a peak time feeling song. But the hats and stuff don't have huge amounts of energy. Also, maybe it's a like genre thing, but it feels like the hats are maybe a little bit quiet. You know, there if you came in with a ride or something, or like a 16th hat, I don't know, I feel like it would just kind of lift it up another level. But all in all, like, fantastic production, really nice. I like the way that it's stripped back. There's not too many elements. All the elements sound like they kind of should be there. Yeah, so I think the hats could probably be quite a bit louder, just to kind of like really kind of punch through and give it a bit more drive. I felt like the only bit that really, where it really kind of wasn't working so well, was this little transition here. You've kind of got like a lot of, you know, this is kind of like this moment where you expose the rest of the vocal, right? Because you've just got this kind of, I lose my breath, was it? Kind of hook happening most of the time. And then you're kind of like giving a bit more of the vocal. But during both of those lines, there's like this snare roll happening over the top of it, and then this like big stab thing happening over top of it. So you kind of lose the impact of then exposing that vocal. So I think if you kind of maybe shifted that vocal bit a little bit later or something like that, this all kind of works pretty well. Yeah, so I think just kind of trying to figure out the arrangement of that a little bit, and then, like I said, maybe adding a little ride or a 16th note hi-hat or something, just to kind of pick it up in some areas. All in all, really, really solid track. The other thing, you know, maybe a few little kind of ear candy type effects and stuff. Like I did say it was really nice and stripped back. But, you know, I think using them sparingly, but maybe there could be like a, you know, just some like little swooshy things here and there that kind of like add to the atmosphere, or kind of add a little bit of randomness to it. Yeah. Off to a solid start.
Yo, yo, yo.
I was playing at this party in Tokyo. And the party was so freaking intense.
I think this bit that you've just brought in here, it comes in earlier, right? So, I don't know, there's something like, it's kind of like doing something. It's kind of unique. It's got this kind of slightly early 2000s filtered kind of house thing. I think it works here, but I think I would use it in the track more sparingly. I felt like it was a little bit, it's almost like it's trying to be a main element, but it doesn't feel like a main element. It also feels like maybe a more background element that's a little bit too far in front. Also, I felt like in the break here, this stab thing, I think could be a little bit more in front. Maybe you could put some automation on that, some delay or something like that, open up the filter a wee bit, just create a bit more dynamic movement in here and kind of make that element a little bit more of a main feature.
Screaming the music. People, energy, the screaming, the music, it gets so deep. And talk about, like, you know, playing like 11 or 12 hours continuous. I lost speech. I couldn't speak anymore because music.
So what I would do with this vocal bit here, you kind of bring it in.
Energy, the scream.
You bring it in as you're bringing the, like, kind of starting the breakdown and bringing things out. What I would do is kind of bring it down and then have the vocal play, like, so the vocal kind of takes over from the other stuff. So I would have this kind of breakdown bit here.
Energy, the screaming, the music, it gets so.
And then after that snare fill, have like everything kind of drop away and then the vocal take its place, right? And then you can build everything. So you'd shift the vocal a little bit further and then probably just have this, like, the music build up a little bit shorter. Again, automating these stabs, you know, they could be like a really cool feature. And when you open up the filter cutoff and kind of make those a bit louder, that's gonna create just as much energy, but in a little and kind of drama, but in a less obvious way than the what do you call it, the snare roll.
The music, it gets so deep.
Also, I think that vocal could be a little bit louder. Yeah. So this, like, kind of, yeah, swirling, filtery, glitchy kind of thing, I would use it more sparingly as like a thing that kind of comes in different sections rather than something that's kind of like there constantly, because I feel like you've kind of got enough elements. And then with those stabs and stuff and some pads, you've kind of got enough going on there, and that other sound makes it feel a little bit hectic and a little bit claustrophobic. It could be just my taste that I don't particularly like the element, but I think it's cool to have it in some sections. It adds a point of differentiation, and it also, like, if you look at my last YouTube video about kind of creating differentiation and in arrangements, you know, like, so it's a good thing to pop in there, and it kind of shifts it up from one section before, right? And then taking it out again shifts it up in the next section. So I mean, I feel like, yeah, basically using it as in a similar way to you're going to use this ride. I would say about having the ride there is like, you know, your track is almost over, and you've kind of done your main break. You've kind of had this section. This is like getting to the outro, and now you're adding in a new element, which is kind of like a level up element. It just kind of doesn't really make sense in the energy arc of the track. So you kind of want to having more chilled energy here, building it up. You bring it down here, you bring it back here, bring it up again before this break, you bring it down, you drop, you bring it up, you drop back to more you know, more kind of straight energy. Then, you know, you could maybe add the ride here, and then you want to start bringing it down, you know. So the energy flow in the track is not, it's kind of like pushing towards the end. All right. I'm going to need a bit of limiting on this one. Okay, straight off the bat, I feel like you've got this some kind of like white noise atmosphere or something in there. It's way too loud compared to your other elements. You kind of want to have that type of thing tucked in the background, so it's just really subliminal. At the moment, it feels like it's almost at the same level that you'd put like a pad or a shaker or something. So it just kind of makes the track feel a little bit muddy. Also, I think your bass line for the level of your kick, let me close these. Your bass line is the same volume as your kick, and that is in most instances, you want your kick to be louder. Also, your kick, you can kind of see it on the waveform here. It's not got a lot of kind of punch. It works, what it looks like is that it's already quite heavily limited, although it might not be, quite compressed. I don't know. I would try pumping it up, maybe another kick, or layering it with another kick that's got a bit more kind of punch and attack. Okay, so it feels like you're kind of introducing too many like leads, like main hook elements too quickly from, yeah. This is a really strong element. It's not particularly unique or anything, but it's like, it's definitely like bold, mixed in front. it's got space, it sits above the rest of the tracks, it's in like a good part of the frequency spectrum that makes it a focus for the listener. And then you bring in this other one kind of over top, which tries to like overpower it. And then they're both just kind of like fighting for space. It sounds like at some points they're clashing harmonically as well. So I think you would be better off to maybe save this new lead for a break or something like that, and then introduce it by itself so it has maximum impact. Then maybe have a section where it plays with that riff, and then change it up and bring back the other one, which is going to be a lot more, it's going to have a lot more payoff for the listener. So I mean, this would work in a club or something. It's got those elements that make people go like, whoa, but it's definitely not very unique or interesting. You know, you're really, if I took out that snare roll and drum fill at the end, there almost wouldn't be a any kind of energy build, you know. And maybe the riser, you know, you're not using any of your elements, you're just kind of plonking build up devices in there, you know, snare roll, fill, pitch riser. Take all those away and none of your elements are doing the job of creating that increase in tension. So I think what it will benefit anyone to do is try to make that happen with the elements of your track, and then add in the like snare roll, the fills, the riser, in order to support and enhance what you're already doing. So again, in terms of the arrangement, like I said, you know, instead of splitting it up into sections, you've got everything playing at the same time. So you've kind of like got to this point, and now it's pretty much the same all the way through, right? Yeah, so I think there's plenty there to be switched up, and I think there's some possibilities to make the track work a lot better there. Oh. There's some funny thing happening at the end of each bar with your open hat. It kind of sounds like it's a loop that doesn't loop properly or something. Maybe it's intentional, but it sounds a little bit odd to me. Oh shit, what have I done? Sorry.
Tú sabes cómo moverte.
To be honest, I don't know if this open hat is the one for the track. I think you could find something that sits in a little bit better. Like now that there's a bit more kind of your kind of deep soulful house vibes going on there, that hat feels a little bit out of place. I think I would just cycle through a bunch of hats using the hot swap thing on Ableton and just try to find an open hat that just slots in with everything.
Tú sabes cómo moverte. Respira. Drop it. Tú y yo en el mismo trip. Esto no es un sueño, es real. Keep dancing. No pare. La noche es tech y es nuestra. Tú sabes cómo moverte. Se flicker, el ritmo manda. Tú sabes cómo moverte. Respira. Drop it. Tú y yo en el mismo trip. Esto no es un sueño, es real.
Right. So, Fernando, I want to preface this by reminding you how impressed I've been with your tracks over the last kind of 6 months. I felt like you really leveled up your production and everything was sounding amazing. This one doesn't feel like it's quite on the same level as some of the other recent tracks I've heard from you, and that's totally fine. I mean, if people heard some of the absolute trash that comes out of my studio, then there probably would be no one tuned into this live stream, because they'd be like, what's up with this guy? He's terrible. But I think it's normal, and I think, I don't know, maybe there's some people who everything they produce is amazing. It's definitely not the case for me. And I think this one just maybe doesn't hit as well. That said, I'll tell you what I think is good. I like the vocals. I like this kind of soulful vocal textury vibe thing that you've got going on. I think even that could even be a little bit louder. It's kind of almost like a pad or something. It's really cool, and it's a good contrast having it with the other vocal as well. I like these this kind of combo with the stab and the pad. Works really well, works with the groove. It's your style. I think the drums on this one just don't really sync as well as they do in other tracks. And there's kind of like this like background loop thing that you've got going on here. It's kind of cool, but it's taking up a lot of space in the track, and I feel like it's maybe, I don't know, it's hard to imagine it without it, but like I feel like I would love to try hearing it with when I could mute that, and maybe it's not playing there. Yeah, I feel like it's better without it. Yeah. You could take some of the elements and maybe try like kind of reproducing the track, because I think, you know, like I said, it's got the ingredients of one of your good tracks, and I just feel like this one's not executed as well as it could be. So you could just chalk it up to move on to the next one, or you could kind of take those main elements and like basically remix yourself, you know, redo the drums and the bass and work it around those kind of main hook elements. Okay, Mr. Ryan Cole, excited to have a listen to this. He's recently had some some releases, and they have been good, and I heard some stuff from him recently which was in a new exciting direction, so let's get into it. Bloody long as ever. Really good, dude. Yeah, I think you've nailed it with adding in a bit more of those kind of atmospheres and stuff. I did feel like in this, especially for the kind of point in the track where it is, where was it? Maybe it was some of these like atmosphere bits were getting a bit too ahead of themselves for this early point in the track. You know, and that might make sense in context, being a bit further down the line, but it's still really good, really good. One other thing I was just thinking is like, you've got this kind of like main pluck thing that's kind of like the main element of the track that's kind of driving it. It would be cool if there was like another element that kind of, you know, maybe every 2 bars or something did like a little kind of call and response with that, you know, that just kind of helped it turn around every 2 bars or something. I think that would add another little dimension. Like always, you've got loads of really solid ear candy and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think just kind of layering those hooks a little bit will kind of strengthen the foundation of the track as well. Maybe shifting something up in the hats or something there could have like helped it level up a little bit. Like a ride or a tambourine or something, just, you know, maybe even just like taking one of the hat elements out and switching it for something else. Hey Joseph, yeah, send it through, mate. We've still got some space and we'll get through any submissions that we can. I'll tell people once it's kind of in danger of not being heard. Okay, so that last note there, I think kind of like it was creating tension, and then the last note made it feel a little bit like, oh. Yeah, I would just hold this note before. I don't think that works. Marcus, that is correct, my friend. Sick, man. I think you've really nailed this one. There's a few little bits and pieces that I kind of mentioned could help. One thing I have noticed is like all through these kind of smaller breaks, like the hats, the kind of main hat shakers stay pretty consistent. I think it can always be helpful to like either take something out there, or, you know, maybe just like cut the highs on your hat group a little bit, like that was really badly executed, did we? You know, so it just kind of creates a little bit more tension and release and a little bit more dynamics between those little mini breaks. You can also, you know, add a bit of reverb. So the combination of both of those things could be kind of cool. There's a lot of reverb. Something's funny here with your kick. It feels like it's lacking power, but everything that I'm kind of it sounds like it's lacking power, but everything that I'm kind of seeing tells me that it shouldn't be. And I think it might be. I think you might have it tuned to the root note of your track, which I would always recommend people avoid, because it's gonna basically it's going to be clashing harmonically and like sonically, like it's trying to occupy the same space as your bass line. And then I think what's happening here is you've got the kick, which is essentially playing quite a strong fundamental of A sharp. And then you've got your bass, which is playing the same fundamental, I think. So they're kind of playing on top of each other, and it does two things. They're fighting for space, but they also, like, it makes your low end just sound very flat and boring. So if you literally tuned your kick down 2 semitones, it'll still be in the scale, but it won't be playing the same note as your bass, and they're gonna interact better, I think. I'll try and also, like, I think it's getting into the range where a kick sounds a little bit like it's lacking power. Yeah, I think it's just maybe tuned too high. So I think it would be massively beneficial to tune your kick down 2 semitones. Something weird's happening here as well. Yeah, that so there where your bass line's playing a G, I'm not sure, yeah, something where I'm not able to tell exactly what it is, but the bass sounds stronger in this break, or it's got more kind of definition in this break than when it comes back. I think it's to do with that, like I said, the tuning of the kick and it being a similar pitch to the it being a similar pitch to the bass. So you had this saxophone hit that comes here. So I think, I feel like this is getting a bit too convoluted for the energy level of the track. I think you should just have the guitar, and then the saxophone here works. It's got a bit more space. I get you're trying to do like a call and response between these two saxophone bits, but I feel like this is an instance where maybe less is more, because you're kind of trying to fit in the guitar, saxophone, vocal, guitar, saxophone. Yeah, I think, you know, this little saxophone hit here will be enough to signal that something's coming, and then the riff comes. The track itself is really good, dude. I think just, yeah, sorting out that kind of low end issue that I'm talking about. This here is a bit, let's have a look. Also this vocal, I don't know, I know it from a sample pack or something. It's a nice vocal, but yeah, there's the problem with having hooks from sample packs. You know, you could try a thing like Order Me or something like that to maybe have it resung, so it sounds slightly different, with a different voice than the one used by the sample pack, but I'm not sure about what's happening here. That's fine if you want to put that in. I would make sure that the arrangement of the track up until the point where this happens makes sense, even if you were to just like delete that. So basically that the track comes to a natural conclusion, and then you have this like run out with the almost like a reprise mix kind of thing at the end with the strings and the shakers and whatnot, but just so that it kind of makes sense for DJs by the end. Yeah, or maybe you're still in the arrangement process, I'm not sure. Alright, Mr. Unknown Vibes. First time in a while that he hasn't been first, so let's see if that's going to affect the quality of his work.
the dark, feeling love. We're who we are, most. In the dark, feeling love. We're who we
This is really good, man. I feel like it's, I don't know. It's kind of like it's good. It's your style. I feel like maybe it's the mix or something isn't quite as good as some of the recent ones you've sent in. It's definitely in a bit more of a proggy kind of style than your other tracks as well, but yeah, I don't know. It's good. It's good. It's not like it's not wowing me. It's kind of like everything's there and solid, but it's not right. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's not wowing me. It's hard to put my finger on exactly what that is, and I guess maybe I'm holding Mr. Unknown Vibes to a very high standard, because some of the stuff that I've heard from him recently has been like really, really solid. Marcus says the kick might be too long. What do you think? What are you saying here, Marcus? Yeah, the kick's very compressed, and yeah. So it's like a 16th note bass line type thing going on, is it? Yeah, maybe the kick's a bit big for the track. Yeah. Thank you, Marcus. That could definitely sort out a few of the issues there, Marcel. I don't know. Yeah, I like the vibe. It's not 100% grabbing me. It's hard to know exactly what it is. I'm sorry. It's kind of like doing all the right things, but not winning. If I get some time at the end, I'll come back to it and see if I can have some fresh ears and a fresh take. Although my ears won't be fresh, will they? Oh, this is a quiet one.
This is how the world began and how creation took shape. If we put that into the modern idiom and say that into the great voids of space came a sound. Sound is the basis of form and shape. Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound. The word was
It's really nice, really nice. Your element, the mix is not great. I'm guessing from like the waveform that that it kind of hasn't been mixed. It definitely hasn't been mastered. It's always I always recommend people to check your mix just with a limiter. So look, all I'm doing here is trying to get it up to about -9. I'd probably check it up to like -8. But we won't listen to it that loud. But all the elements are working super nice together.
the word was
I imagine, Marcus, that it is in the Platinum bundle, or yeah, I think Waves sell most of their plugins for about $20 these days. Some evil chords there.
we put that into the mound is the basis form and shape. Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
Yeah, this is really well kind of written and produced. It's super good, Alex. As I said, the mix could be better, but like, yeah, I don't know. There's not much I can fault here. You've done the way you're kind of doing things in a not super complex way, which is a positive, I think. This here, having these piano chords happen. You're being bold enough to let things happen alone, right? Then you go back to the bass line. One thing I was thinking, instead of this little fill at the end here,
Completely sound.
which kind of overpowers the voice a little bit. I think it could be cool to at least try, like taking that out, stopping all the hats and then just having like maybe the vocal play and the bass line just completely themselves with whatever atmosphere is kind of flowing over, so that it kind of the bass line basically does the fill here, or even without the vocal. I don't know. I feel like that could be really cool and create like a really cool moment before the drop. Other than that, mate, I don't really have too much to offer there. It's bloody good. If you need help with the mix, I offer those services, but I don't know, judging by the proficiency with which it's like written and produced, you may be well capable of doing that yourself. I don't think anything was benefiting there by having that kick so filtered out. I don't know. I would just start with the kick and probably just keep it more simple. I think you're getting way too ahead of yourself with the arrangement here. Like it sounds like one of those tracks where you start the arrangement by like you start with all your elements and you kind of like start at 0 and you start adding things and going along, and then by 10 seconds you figure it's boring, so you got to bring in the vocal. Then by 30 seconds you're like, oh god, we need more stuff, and then by the time you get to here, you've added all your elements, and then it's going to be very linear from there on out. I don't know that that's the case. I haven't listened to it, but I do not recommend arranging from 0 to 6 minutes or whatever. I think you're better off to kind of like arrange this bit first, make sure that works, and then kind of work backwards in what makes sense. And this is clearly like an extended kind of DJ mix. This bit, just keep it pretty simple. A little bit of atmosphere, but just solid kick and bass groove that the DJs can mix in with. Maybe start introducing one of your hook elements so that people can start to recognize when that track is coming in underneath another track. But just keep it simple.
What you want me to do now? I can't do what you want. You know.
Hi, Umut.
I can't do what you want me to do now. You can't see what is inside of me. See, I can't do what you want. You know. I can't do.
So first and foremost here, there's like a really kind of foundational principle that I talk about on my YouTube channel a lot, which is like just getting the basics of your track, the foundation of your track right. And that's like basically starting with a good kick. This kick, I would say, does not qualify. And then getting just the really like the kick, main, hat and clap right, so that if just those elements are playing, it kind of sounds like you could just listen to them, right? Like then those are not, you don't feel like, oh, I need to add more and more and more to that. If you've got that really foundational bit of your track nailed, then your bass line fits in there perfectly as well and just brings it up to the next level. And those very few elements are just working and sound like very listenable and sound like something cool and unique, or just kind of at the very simplest form, your track foundation sounds super good. Then you're in a great place to build from there, right? And I feel like you haven't nailed that foundational bit. There's quite a few videos on my channel where I talk about ways of doing that. Look at some of the videos about creating drums, basically.
You know.
You got some cool elements in here, and I think this vocal being used a bit more sparingly could really work. Sounds like you've got multiple bass lines coming in on top of each other, which is never a good idea. You can have like complex bass lines. In fact, I'm recording a video tomorrow about creating like kind of, it's going to be called like 3 levels of bass lines, like whatever, like beginner to pro or whatever. But yeah, the bass here is not like, it's got no personality, it's just sub. It might be really super low. Yeah, it's just like a sound. It's basically got no mid-range kind of sound, which makes it feel like it's lacking energy. It's probably way too loud. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to do this video about how to create more complex bass lines. I don't think that's what you need here. I think you need simple, straightforward. Yeah, I think your bass line's too loud as well, which you can't really hear because it's so low. It's very, so yeah, you want to have it. So basically, if I do this, it's probably going to sound like you don't have a bass line.
You know.
And then if I do like that, it sounds like you've got too much bass. Yeah, so cool that you're doing your thing. You've got some ideas in here. You've got some cool elements, but nail the basics, and then move forward. Nice one from old mate Luca Pensa, I believe. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. The internet from my building dropped out. That's a bit shit. Where were we? Let me just double check. This is on. Come back on YouTube. Why is it not showing that? Let me see if I can refresh this page. Hopefully it comes back. All right. Okay. People are saying in the chat that it's back. Cool. Sorry about that. I see you, Lexi. All right. Oh, this is weird. I've got my chat doubled. Sorry, just give me a minute while I get my shit together. All right. Put the chat back there where I can see it. All right. All right. Okay. So what was I saying about Luca's track? Oh, yeah. In breakbeats, you have all the space because you don't have a 4/4 kick pattern, right? So if the snare's playing without the kick underneath, you kind of need that body from the snare to give it that, that smack that it needs, right? So I think you can kind of judge that by like if you just play solo the kick and the snare together, does it feel like the snare's matching the power of the kick? In this case, I would say probably not. But that said, that is a kind of like a big part of the foundation of this track. That said, it's not the end of the world. It's easily fixed. Nice. I think a lot of your tracks seem to suffer from this, Luca, but it feels a little bit like a backing track that needs a vocal. That was sick, but I think let me just see if I can grab this. And let's, this is a pretty rough and ready way to do this, but let's just pump this up by like 8 dB and go add a fade there. I think you get my point. That should just be like, wow, there's all that silence there. It's a great opportunity for something to stand out from that silence. I love how kind of aggressive and noisy that is. It sounds really cool. Okay, so I think this is super well produced. Sounds really great, but my main issue with it is that it feels like a backing track that's waiting for a vocalist or something to jump on it and bam, you know. And I think that's something that maybe your tracks can suffer from. Just a lot of it's to do with the style, but whether, you know, but I think it doesn't matter what style of track it is. I think everything needs a hook, you know. For some tracks, the hook can literally be just like this kind of hypnotic groove or something. This is not one of them. This feels like it's, I want some really kind of cool ethereal vocal to happen and be the star of the show. It could be a melody or something like that. I'd probably need to think about what that melody might be. I would probably need to do a bunch of referencing and kind of get some ideas about what goes into this style in a more instrumental one. But yeah, it feels like it's lacking a main character. I think we are having a call in the next wee while, Luca, so we can discuss more then. But I mean, dude, sounds totally solid. I'm just trying to tell you what I think could be improved. Kick, not good. This kick is just way too big for this track. Also, this intro here is like, I think a couple of tracks back I kind of said, like, you know, keep the intro simple and stripped back, but this intro is literally doing nothing. You have this kind of same loop playing, and then you have the kick filtered and then the kick in. The kick's just like, yeah, way too huge, I think. What I would do is basically like find a good solid reference for your track that is in the same key and steal the kick from that, or at the very least, like look at how the style of kick that they're using and try to mimic that. But it's just like, yeah, it's just overpowering your bass line. It's just the wrong kick for the track, let's be honest. So these synths that you've put in here sound very kind of like vanilla. There's no movement to them. There's no kind of real character to them. They sound like a preset or a loop that's just sitting there. They're not really working with the groove of the bass line and that kind of thing. Get a bit of delay and reverb and filter modulation going on with them. There's also like kind of a few things that jumped in at the same time, and they're not really it's like they want to be doing a call and response, but they're not really working together super well. It would just be like a matter of tweaking the timing a little bit. I think just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Cool. I like the little vocal shot. That's nice. You've got this kind of clap. Is it moving side to side or something? It's like feels like it's got too much stereo widening on it. I think you want the clap to be like in the center, and then if you want to create width from it, like maybe layer something on the left and something on the right, so that those wide parts are naturally separated by being different sounds. It sounds like you're using like a Haas effect or something to create some width, and you've got it spread too far. It's almost sounding like it's delayed, but not. And then it also doesn't sound grounded. Let me chuck a utility on here. Oh. Mono. Listen to that phasing. Boom. Issues, mate, issues. Because, okay, let's say you go and you're playing at a festival, and or someone's playing your track at a festival, right? And they have a mono system, which happens. Or in a club, they have a mono system, happens. Oh yeah. Whoops, sorry. Oh yeah. Oh, why does the track sound so weird? Because it's phasing like a motherfucker. EDM build up in a kind of like Christmassy type track.
What?
EDM riff in a kind of. Now this sounds like a totally different track too. Maybe not a Christmassy track, but maybe like a Hot Creations kind of minimal tech house kind of thing. I think there's plenty to be going on there. Plenty to be going on with there. My man Sparito, given the big donations there in the chat. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. It will not save you here, though. I will be honest. But it's sounding bloody good so far. Okay, sorry, I just needed to warp this so that I could, what is it, 122? Because I want to kind of demonstrate something for you. Jesus. All right. Very, very, very compressed, by the way. Anyway, let me just change this to 122. So I think you've got like this cool kind of shakery atmosphere going on here, but there's no like kind of grounding to the hat. I think you would be, yeah, like it. You've got these kind of like shakers that are floating around my head, but it feels like it's just missing this kind of solid down the middle, probably like closed hat or something. So I just wanted to demonstrate how that might sound. You probably bring something in later, but I think in this part of the track, you should probably have something there. So let's just chuck it in here. Yeah, something like that. It just already makes the track feel more kind of driving and more grounded to me. Also, okay, so I think you need some kind of like mini break type things. Like I would, you know, every, what's this, 16 bars. Let's go here and boom. And we'll put some automation. And let's get a bit of reverb in here. You know, you can add some effects and stuff. Literally the last video I did on my channel was about that kind of thing, or included something about that kind of thing. But I think that is could really help to make this, to break this up a bit. I think you've got something happening like that here, maybe. So you're totally capable of doing it. I think just doing it a little bit more regularly. Yeah, it kind of, it'll help the track to sound a little bit less loopy. Also kind of, so you've got like plenty of automation and stuff going on, which is great, but like, maybe this kind of main up could, I don't know, I feel it's pretty consistent. It's good. It's a driving element for the track, but like, I don't know. I feel like there might be a possibility where you could kind of take it away, or even like take a bunch of other stuff away. Take away the kind of hats and stuff like that, and then just have the ARP and then drop back without the ARP. Or yeah, maybe in this section here, take out some of the hats and stuff so you can have the ARP building up like this.
Do my thing. And then repeat. And then repeat.
yeah, kind of, I don't know. It feels, it may just be that it's gone in a different direction than my taste, but like, I guess I felt like I knew what the track was here. It feels like a kind of cool, deep, groovy, kind of progressive type thing. And then here in the break, somehow you've changed into this kind of melodic techno direction. Could be a cool shift up. It would mean, like, I think just, yeah, maybe who's the audience for the track? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so the track is super well produced, really, really good. I feel like the kind of main ARP thing is a little bit repetitive. Sounds really cool when you do the automation on it, but that only happens a couple of times. I think there could be some sections where you take out some of the hats and stuff like that, just kind of create a bit more dynamics. Check out the video on my channel that I did last week. What else was there? Yeah, this bit after the break with the melodic techno kind of leads, I don't know, it wasn't for me. It feels like it just takes the track in a totally different direction, although maybe for some people that would be exactly what they want. I don't know. I feel like, okay, let's say let's just put it into the context of a DJ who's going to play it, right? The DJ who plays this may not really like this. That may not be the right track for them, you know? I don't know. Chat, what are you saying? Let us know. But yeah, really solid stuff, dude. Really well produced. I think it just feels a little bit bipolar, and that ARP is a little bit relentless. When it kind of came back in the break here, I felt a bit like, oh god, more of that. Because you're kind of bringing a lot back in the break here for this build up. So I think that could be reimagined, done in a different way. Maybe you could use some of these sounds, introduce them in the break so it makes a bit more sense, and then bring the ARP back here. I don't know. I think this triangle that you've got there is a bit too loud. They're like inherently a very harsh element and can really be quite piercing in a mix if they're too loud. It's cool, very cool. Adds like a really nice vibe to tracks when they're in there though. Yeah, I think the triangle's maybe like 5 dBs too loud.
Oh non, je ne veux plus être ta reine. Ça se voit.
Not what I thought it was going to be with the bass line on there.
Ça t'arrange. Je ne veux plus être ta reine. Oh non. Je ne veux plus être ta reine. Je ne veux plus être ta reine.
This sounds... something's off here.
D'être comme ça. toi, ça t'arrange.
Okay, maybe it's not the bass line, it's this. Is it?
Ta reine. Ta reine.
You got this like eighth note kind of low mid. Dun, 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 dun. Which sounds just kind of wrong for the rest of the elements, and especially for the part of the arrangement where it is like you could use it as a element to increase intensity or create tension or something, but it's kind of like it's like quite a robotic kind of sound, and it's happening before a part where the track becomes more groovy.
Je ne veux plus être ta reine.
So I think just ditch it at least there. So very loud. I think so I thought this was going to be saying that it was like minus 6.5 LUFS or something, because you've got it very limited already, and it's there's like audible distortion, I think. So I think I'm not sure why that is. Maybe your clap's a bit too loud. You could try doing a bit of clipping on your clap and then bringing it down in volume, because it sounds like it's when the vocal, kick, bass and clap are all playing at the same time, there's some audible distortion happening, I think.
Je ne veux plus être ta reine. Tu l'entends?
Asmus, my man, long time. Hope you're good, brother.
Je ne veux plus que tu sois mon roi. Je ne veux plus que tu sois mon roi. À toujours me dire ce que je dois faire. À toujours me dire de prendre un air. À toujours me dire.
Okay, so this sound makes sense here. It's creating tension, like I said, in this build-up, right? So great. Just take it out at the start. Unnecessary.
Je ne veux plus être ta, je ne veux plus être ta reine. À toujours me dire ce que je dois faire.
You try taking it out here. I don't know. It works better here than it did definitely at the start. Take it out, get rid of it. But you need to drop it back out at some point.
Oh non, ça te va?
By here.
Tu l'entends?
And then you've kind of got this like, it's like pretty much all the same here in intensity, and then you drop everything out. So maybe like tapering it off a bit more evenly. All right, how are we doing for time? Shit. We need to pick up the pace a little bit. Glenn Giles, you attached a track to your email, which it specifically says, do not do that. I will listen to your track, but Naughty, naughty. All right. No good. I'm going to delete the email now because it clogs up my inbox. I think, you've got the, shit, I forgot who it's by, the got, is it, got me burning up with your love, it's Lolita Holloway. Have you got that sample in here? And then, shit, I've forgotten who it is, but you got two, like, really, really obvious, prominent samples in here. Like, what are we doing here? You know, I think just sampling is cool. I sample sometimes very blatantly. Sometimes, you know, sometimes I do cover versions of tracks and that kind of thing. But for the most part, especially if you're going to sample something that's like that's sampled a lot, try to add your own unique spin on it, you know? Eddie, did you say are they all splice samples? Are there vocals in there? Because maybe I've heard it before in other tracks. Then there's kind of like R&B. It sounds like Tony Braxton or like God, what's her name? I'll find it. No, it's a really nice sound, and I mean the fact that I thought that it was like a kind of old R&B track, I guess implies that it's really good quality, because it's Deborah Cox. Deborah Cox is the person I was thinking of. That it sounds like Deborah Cox or Tony Braxton or something like that. I mean, it's a really nice sound. It just sounds like I don't know, like I thought it was something I'd heard before. I don't know. Okay. I think with this, so you've got this kind of like vocal choppy type business going on in here. I feel like I would like to hear the track without it, to be honest. I'm not sure. Also, your kick is a bit bit dull. We had a lot of like not great kicks in this stream so far. Okay, so looking at your kick, I think it's a little bit quiet. It maybe lacks a little bit of punch, like in the kind of punch will generally be given around this area of the frequency spectrum, and maybe a little bit of like transient, which is in this kind of area here, and maybe it's even a little bit too short. Just not a super great kick, I don't think. Also maybe just a bit quiet as well. I think you've got a cool groove here with the low end and stuff. That, yeah, like that, having that those vocal chops in there the whole time. Really adds to it sounding quite repetitive, because they're like it's not like they're being filtered in and filtered out and used to create tension and release. They're just kind of there. So I love using vocals, and I love hearing vocals like in the groove. And I'll even quite a lot, I have like loopy vocals in the background, but when I have like loopy vocals in the background, I'm always like filtering them up and filtering them down, or automating them, adding delay, trying to help them to create tension and release in the track. What you could do with that is literally like get the envelope. You can't have it without, I'll just warp it at 122. Get the volume envelope. Let's just say this is your the splice vocal of that kind of vocal chop loop. You know, just turn the vocal all down and then just play a couple of little bits. So they're kind of like working in call and response with the drums. So it's kind of adding just more texture and kind of interest to the drum groove, rather than this kind of like repetitive vocal chop thing in the background. Otherwise, I mean, I think the vibe of your track is really, really cool. And yeah, I wish I'd found that vocal myself, because it's fucking sick. So here we've got like the right amount of movement and minimalism in the intro of the track, you know. There's just a few little things being added every now and then, but there's a bit of movement on the synth that's coming in, building up tension, letting itself be kind of exposed as the track develops. But plenty of space for like a DJ to mix in or whatnot. I think you could probably benefit from having like a subtle string or pad in there as well. It's just going to help to fill out that space in the break there, and then create even more dynamic shift when the drop happens here. Nice call and response between these synths that's happening. Good one. And the bass, they're all the like call and response between the synths is also working with the groove of the bass. So yeah, really, really good. Like I think just having simple elements that work well together and complement each other is like often adds much more depth and interest to a track than having like lots of crazy random bits and pieces flying everywhere, you know? Nice. The vocal adds on another simple element that's helping to bring the track up another level. It's good. And always with automation as well. You're increasing the filter, increasing the volume, adding the delay. It's building so the track is maintaining its kind of like minimalism and simplicity. It's kind of stripped back feel, but you're also guiding the listener through the track and creating tension and release. So this is great. So I feel like you need something to differentiate this section and this section, right? We've been consistently building through the track. We've just plateaued, right? So I'm not sure what that could be. It could be, you know, it can be removing things as well. You know, I don't know that if that's going to be the right thing to do in this track. It could be like, I think making bold shifts in a track is like, can be like really compelling. You know, you could do something like take out a bunch of the hats, take out a bunch of the synths as well, throw in like some djembe percussion or something, some kind of crazy thing, and a ride or something like that. So really kind of shift it up, but keep that vocal going, maybe keep a pad going, and then kind of build it back to the main elements, right? Yeah, I don't know. Create different sections. I think like just it's simple, it's overdone, like a held string or pad or something is just gonna really, you know, even if you can elevate that somehow and have like automation going on it, make it sound really cool and atmospheric, great. But I think even just the most simple version of like a held string with some reverb and a little bit of movement on it is going to sound great in here. So you've got this new element here, which is cool, but I think it could be a bit more, it feels like you've added it in the background. I think it could be a bit more intentional, something that's like got a bit more transient, sounds a bit more aggressive, so it feels like the track's gone up a level. Or maybe like an organ kind of dun dun dun, like organ keys or something like that. Just have if you're going to add an element like that, have it mean something. yeah, really solid track. I think there's like a extra kind of, I don't know, 15-20% you could squeeze out of that. Just a few small tweaks here and there. Maybe switching things up a little bit in the drums, adding a little bit of like randomness or something. I really like these like kind of atmospheric stab kind of moments that you've got on the drop, and then they're happening a bit more frequently now. I think do something like make that new riff that you've got come in here a bit more meaningful. Yeah, solid. Adria Falco. I think there could be something a little bit more interesting happening in here. Like, I don't know, something just like a little more of a kind of mid-range kind of pluck or some kind of riff happening. Works, but not quite what I was thinking. Something a bit more like not a mid-bass, but like, yeah, something that's kind of adding to the rhythm of the track, a synth kind of thing. Again, perfect example of some really solid, simple call and response elements that just add to the track so much. There's some elements in the background here which sound like they're kind of what I was saying should come sooner. I'm not sure. They're quite low in the mix. The guitar's really nice.
I can't just be making shit up, man. Wat is die game op de nek gaan? Do I have something to go back to? Or is it a waste of time? Something to go back to, or is it a waste of time? Or is it a waste?
Really cool. These like really nice sound design on these new little kind of lead things that are coming. Maybe like you could play with the filter, open them up a little bit more. Maybe they could be a little bit louder. But, you know, just a taste thing. Really, yeah, I mean, super good Adria. Pretty chilled. This man has many strings to his bow. Very, very good, very talented producer though. I suggest everyone go and check him out. Yeah, a few little bits and pieces, little kind of, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, ideas. The track works, it's very well produced, good mix. Yeah, solid stuff, bro. As to be expected. Always worth checking your tracks at a like reasonable loudness with reasonable amount of compression on the master, because now these like snare fills sound, it almost sounds like you got a snare roll going the whole time. Whereas you probably want, you know, when you're making it, they're probably a lot quieter. Yeah. They're probably intended to be more like groove kind of elements, whereas now they're quite full on. Great little element there. Really stands out in the mix. Pretty simple, but adds a lot of personality to the track. What just came out there? Did the snares come out? Yeah, so I don't know if it's snares or rims or something, but in this section here, the track feels a lot less hectic. It doesn't make sense to pull those out the way it is. It doesn't make sense to pull those out here because it feels like we've kind of gone down a level. But I've already talked about them enough. really, I love the vibe on this. I really love the vibe on this. I think this could be more of a traditional kind of snare roll, not too insane, but just, you know, kind of coming underneath rather than the rim snare groove that you've got going through the whole track. Like really solid elements here. I think you're kind of maybe missing a bit more of a prominent vocal hook, just like a one-liner kind of thing. Something. I mean, it's the track's giving me like kind of older Hot Since '82 vibes, which I think is a good thing. But it's kind of missing that like hit element that most of his tracks tend to have. But really good stuff, man. I think you can just kind of keep going with that a bit, and yeah, something good will come out from it. What is up with the weird kicks today? This kick is not the one. A lot of transient, very little kind of smack in the very weird, very short. Kind of still sounds like it's filtered out even when it's not. You're kind of in the melodic bits, you're kind of doing too much too early in the track. I feel like you've got. But again, like if you've got this solid foundation for your track, no matter what style it is, then you don't need as much going on at the start. You just need a bit of like subtle movement. You're just introducing the groove and introducing the kind of foundation and the main elements of the track. You want to get people engaged, get them listening. But if that like foundation just sounds super solid, then it's going to be enough. Already lots of complex melodic melodic elements coming in here, you know. I'm still struggling to understand what's the hook of the track as well. Okay, so there's something going on here where it sounds like you've added some drums that are not in time or something. They're like phasing with the other drums. Maybe you've got a loop that's got a different timing or something to the other drums you had in there. You're getting, quite far into the track, and now you're starting to ramp things up. Now you've got this like 16th note thing happening. I think you've got like just way too many ideas in here. You've kind of thrown the kitchen sink at it, which is totally fine. Great. It's better to try more than try less, but there's got to be a point where you go, this is what this track is about. This is the main thing, and double down on that. And for every track that I make, especially the good ones, there's a process of elimination, of taking stuff out and going, that is not, I don't need that, I don't need that. And this track is much in need of that. Remera, label. Yes, so there's a couple of things happening. All will be revealed soon, but I've got one label starting in, I believe, September, and there's another thing in the works which is also really interesting. And I need to talk to both of the groups of people that I'm working with on both of those projects and see when we will announce things. But yes, I haven't shelved it. They're definitely moving forward. Nothing is on hold. It's just like timing and getting everything organized. But one that I'm doing with like a cool group of people. We've got our first release planned. We've got the like distribution and everything set up. It's going ahead. September, I think, is looking like the launch. And the first release will be a collaboration with myself and another artist on the label. Delexi. So I've already heard this briefly, but let's have a play through. So first off, I think this open hat, this kind of like 909, it's cool. It sits in the track well, but I think you'd be better off to start with something a little bit more subdued. You can use that then to add power through, or add, just kind of bring it up a level as you come through the track. So with where's this one? Listen to the start here. The hat that he's using is just a lot shorter, a bit more like a shaker or something like that. I think you'd do well using the same kind of thing here. And then you can add the open hat, maybe here or something to up the power, up the ante, or even here. On your bass line, try pulling the filter in a little bit. Also, it could, so the second oscillator could be playing up seven semitones from the root note instead of playing an octave up. And that might give it a bit more of an kind of aggressive feel, which I think would be good, and then you cut away some of that mid-range, so it'll give it just a bit more kind of power and grittiness. This vocal in the background there, I think it should definitely be more filtered out and then come in as like a riser type thing. And then you could add some delay and stuff on it, kind of build it up and then take it out at the drop, which you've done. Good one. I think I've already said this to you, but I'll say it for the benefit of the chat. This stab thing, I think, could be the kind of main hook of the track. But it's very static. It's also like a little bit, it's maybe got a little bit too much resonance. You could try doubling it with a bit more aggressive sound that sits a bit lower, and then plenty of like automation. Maybe with delay, reverb, but definitely with the filter. So the way the drums are moving, you're adding the ride, cool. Yeah, so same thing again with this vocal, use it more as a riser, bring it in there a bit more subtly. So like what you could do there with this like loopy vocal in the background is, you know, just add a short kind of 1-bar break. We take out the bass, and then before this female vocal hits, you like bring back the bass, take out that loopy vocal, and then have the female vocal hit. And it switches, you know, changes into a new section. Maybe it's a personal taste thing. I'm not a huge fan of the take the bass line out, leave the kick in to make a break. I feel like it works much better the other way. If you're gonna, take the kick out, or like filter the kick and like leave the bass line full power. But you're doing that here anyway. But yeah, I think the biggest win here is like just getting that maiden lead sound a bit cooler. It's at the moment it's a bit static, it's a bit vanilla. It's not really like got much personality. So I think, yeah, there's a few easy wins here. The other thing is the arrangement. You know, you're kind of like, I'd say this is your main break, and you're kind of already nearing the end of the track by the time you have it. Referencing is absolutely key. I would say, especially when you're starting out, but I reference constantly other people's arrangements, the way the energy is flowing through their track, how they're like adding in elements at what time to keep things interesting, to keep feel like there's tension and release. Are things coming in full power, or are they coming in slowly and subtly building up? There's, I think there's always room for referencing, and it's the best way that you can learn things is by looking at tracks that you love and tracks that you think work really well, especially if you're a DJ that plays out. You know what works on the dance floor, so try and figure out what makes that track work on the dance floor and put that into your track without like trying to copy the elements. Copy the essence of what's working, not try to recreate what's working. Andy has just come and said that he changed the kick on, detuned the kick on his track, and the power came back to it. So that's a win. Awesome, Andy. I'm glad to hear that, brother. Let's go. We got two more. Already love that percussion. Sick. So it feels to me like there's something missing in your bass line. I'm just gonna it is warped, okay. What, 123. So let's have a look at it. So it looks like there's kind of room for a question and call and response kind of thing in your bass line. So we start here. Okay, so you do have it. You've got it there with this. Maybe the I feel like you could maybe put a tom or some kind of like low mid percussion kind of thing here. And that note could be here. It's going to sound a bit weird, but let's just try it. Yeah, 100%. That note should be, instead of being on the 16th there, it should be on the 8th. So very cool bass line. I hope we're going to get some kind of lead hook type thing soon. Your bass is sounding a little bit muddy. It could do with a bit more definition without really getting in there. It's difficult to know exactly what that is, but maybe adding a little bit more envelope modulation to the bass to let through a little bit more low mids. know the sample from somewhere. I think I know which sample pack it's from. I think I'm doing a track with a different sample from it at the moment. Yeah, man, really solid track. One of my favorites that I've heard from you, to be honest. I feel like the mix is just lacking a little bit of definition in a few areas, a little bit muddy. But the mix is secondary to a great tune, and I think you're onto a great tune here. Again, shameless plug. If you want some help with the mix, hit me up. That's what we do. Where are you guys getting these kicks from? Honestly. Underground Shades of House Volume 2 out now. It's got a bunch of good fucking kicks in there. This one, not it. Again, the kick is just, it's like very transient heavy. It's tuned too high, which so it like lacks sub. It just doesn't have a lot of personality. It kind of, let's have a look at the EQ. Yeah, it's got a lot of boxiness. So I'll pump this up a little bit. Accentuate the boxiness for you. I'll just turn this limiter on so it's not clipping. So boxiness refers to this kind of like sound that's like if you've got I don't know, you buy a new appliance and you've got this large box and you bang on the side of it and it has this like buh, buh, buh kind of feeling. So you want to, I mean, the best fix for that is just getting a better kick. But otherwise you can kind of get your EQ and cut out a couple of dB somewhere between this kind of 100 and 300 hertz. But I think this one is a lost cause. Also, just the kick sounds like it's tuned too high. Vocals too loud, your drums are weak. They lack personality. I'm a firm believer that from 90% of it, like a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on making their kind of drums and their bass. And like as DJ producers, we listen to tracks and go like, oh man, it's got a sick bass line. Oh man, the drums are so sick. But I'm a firm believer that if you take out whatever the personality, the vocals, the melodies of the track, it won't remain good. That said, having awesome drums and a great bass line are almost like mandatory. You can't have a great track without them, but in most cases, I don't think they make the track great. They're just like a prerequisite almost. So I'm just going to go here and listen along to this with some top loops. I turned off the warp, but no, it should be fine. I think yeah, like literally your drums are, I don't know, 4 out of 10, which in this day and age, it's an easy fix. There's so many good sample packs around. Literally, get a solid sounding kick, get a solid sounding closed hat, and add that to the kick. Get them sounding good together. Get a clap that complements them well, and then find an open hat, put that on top, and then find a top loop or something that sits under there nicely, and that should be like a solid foundation for your track. But this ain't it. But it's good. It's good that you're in a position here where you've got a track that's got like some cool synths and a cool vocal and a decent bass line, and
we love on how
the vocals are way too loud, by the way. But you've got room for improvement, and now I think like making some decent drums on this track is will be a massive win. It will and getting a good kick will just level it up from I don't know, more than double. So great. Hopefully you're gonna do that and gonna be stoked. All right, so sorry, I'm rambling there a bit. We've gone 45 minutes longer than we normally do, and it's 31 degrees in here. So I'm going to go home and take a shower. Hopefully that was helpful for everyone. Thanks everyone for sending your tracks in. Much appreciate that. If you are looking for some good samples with some good kicks, it's funny how every month there seems to be like a thing that is just like reoccurring in a lot of tracks. There were some absolute dog shit kicks in this lot of submissions, and I don't know. Yeah, Underground Shades of House Volume 2. There's some decent kicks in there. Maybe they're not the best kicks in the world, but they will suffice. Yeah, and there were some fantastic tracks in here as well. Cool. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully you can level up your tracks a bit and get them out there, get them signed, move on to the next one, learn from whatever mistakes or changes or improvements could be made, and implement them for the next one going forward. Just make more tracks. It's the way to get better. All right, guys, I'm going to stop waffling and go and enjoy my Sunday. We'll see you next time. Thanks very much for tuning in.